Well, good morning and welcome back to Cityline. With me, I have two brilliant and amazing individuals who are here to talk about Tacoma Public Library's newest Community Archives Center. And I can't wait for this because there's a detective in me waiting to get out to see these archives. So please join me in welcoming Anna Trammell. You are the Archives and Special Collections Manager for our beloved Tacoma Public Library. Welcome to Cityline.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
It's great to have you here. And you brought with you this fabulous woman, Dendria Barrow. You are a community Archives Center Associate for our beloved Tacoma Public Library. Welcome to Cityline.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have both of you here. So Anna, you're in the hot seat first. Let's
right.
talk about what is the Community Archives Center?
So the Community Archives Center is a new initiative from the Tacoma Public Library, and it's being supported by a federal grant from the Institute for Museum and Library Services. So we're very grateful to have their support to really launch and develop this new initiative. And this program is all about looking at Tacoma's story, looking at Tacoma's local historical record, and asking ourselves whose voice is missing, whose stories and what perspectives have been underrepresented when we think about Tacoma's history. So we're identifying some of those gaps and silences, and then we're going out in the community and we're partnering with community organizations and individuals to try to mitigate some of those silences. And in addition to thinking about looking back at history and identifying these gaps, we're also thinking about what is happening in Tacoma's story right now that needs to be documented, because people are going to be looking back at this moment in Tacoma's story. So we're thinking about how can we make sure that those same silences that we know exist in the past don't continue to exist in this work that we're doing now.
You have sucked all the spiritual air out of this studio by what you just said. Because if there's ever a time that we live in a culture and in a, you can taste it and feel it, of remembering where the gaps are and also remembering where the barriers are. If COVID did not teach us to sit up, wipe the cultural sleep out of our eyes and look around, then we didn't learn anything.
Absolutely.
How timely is this?
Yes.
Because by looking at those gaps, you have to ask the question, who was not invited to the table? Or if they were invited to the table, what was served that caused them to get up and leave that table? So, Dendria, why is the Community Archives Center important for Tacoma, but also needed in Tacoma at this point?
Right, and my answer really piggybacks on what Anna said in the beginning. We're giving voice to silenced and sometimes ignored voices and histories. We want to uplift and share stories from multiple communities: the BIPOC community, the LGBTQIA+ community, the disabled community, the unhoused community, and the refugee and immigrant community.
Yes.
There are so many stories that we have already lost. And so it is really important to collect and preserve these stories for future generations about what's going on now and what's going on in the past. We need to build an inclusive history of Tacoma as opposed to one history.
One side of the story, yes. God, that was so well said. And I want to point out, you brought your notes on, and of course that's no big deal, but this is how much you care about this message, that we don't want to leave it to, if I said accidentally because of nerves the wrong thing. You've got some serious history solidified notes that you need to speak about. So question for both of you, and I'm going to go with you first, Anna. What are some examples of the work that you've done so far for the Community Archives Center project? That's a question for both of you, since you have different perspectives. Go right ahead.
So we've really been focused on building a new publicly accessible collection of community-created, community-centered content that is intentionally focused on, again, mitigating some of these gaps and silences that we know exist in Tacoma's story, and thinking again about what is happening right now that we want to make sure is documented. So I'll give you a few examples. We worked with the City of Tacoma Office of Arts and Cultural Vitality.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so they work on all kinds of amazing projects that we all benefit from. And one of the projects that they worked on last year was the Black Lives Matter mural being created in Tillotson Plaza. So we partnered with them to make sure we were documenting the creation of that mural and its importance for that moment in Tacoma's history. So now people can access all of the photographs and planning documents and even oral histories with some of the people who were involved in that project. And then we've also been working with different community organizations to preserve and provide access to content that they've created. So that includes Tacoma Community House, the Tacoma Pierce County Black Collective, and Willow, the Women's Intergenerational Living Legacy Organization, which I know that you've been involved in the past. So now all of those videos from Willow's storytelling festivals, where you play a prominent role, are part of this collection from the Community Archives Center, and will be available for future generations to access and learn from.
I mean, we have just given future generations the vaccination they need to be successful. If you can look at things that were from your past and also hear it in a narrative way, that's education.
Right.
What is this like from your point of view?
I have the privilege
Yes.
to hear stories from various people. I am recording oral history interviews, and I call them OHIs. Okay, I coined that.
I
so
like
now
that.
on
It's
TV.
yours.
And what I really treasure about it is that I get to learn from them, I get to connect with them, and then I get to reflect on my own life and how our lives commingle in Tacoma. There are worldviews, perspectives, and wisdoms that are in these oral histories. And what's even more exciting is that there are high school students who are recording oral histories and putting them on our Northwest Orca database. And that intergenerational learning is so valuable. And it's just really exciting to see young people contribute to history and to telling and interpreting history and sharing the impact that it had on them, on the interviewees, and the listeners.
So I'm sitting here and I want to ask you this question, and now that you said the impact, I'm going to ask you this question. So what do you do as somebody who is helping pull out these narratives, but also shaping the narratives? There is a moment in every story where you, as the listener or as the narrator, are shocked at what you've heard and what you're about to say, because it's history, and sometimes that history and how it looked was buried because it wasn't the prettiest thing to look at. How do you help these students get through that?
Well, I really think that it's important to let students know that their story is just as important as the story they are trying to collect.
There we go.
And so that every story is unique and is important and needs to be documented to keep it the database inclusive.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And I mean, I could go on, but
I know you could.
But it's really about fashioning your questions as well.
Yes.
So I think it's really to help your curiosity, to help your investigation of the past and how you want to identify change for the future. Oh,
and now my brain's like, we won't even get into pronouns. That's for a different show. Okay, so first off, Anna, what are in these last few seconds or minutes, what are the next steps for the Community Archives Center, and how can we, who do we thank?
Yeah. So the Community Archives Center is going to continue to grow and expand. Dendria is recording new oral histories every week. So what I'm most excited about is that everybody can access this content that we've been describing in our new Northwest ORCA database. So this is a new online digital archive.
Look at that.
ORCA stands for Online Records and Collections Access. So everyone can go there, they can access the full collection of the Community Archives Center along with the Northwest Room's local history collections, all in one place. So you can listen to these oral histories, you can watch these videos, you can view these photographs.
Yes.
We are also going to be hosting a traveling exhibit highlighting some of these stories, and it's going to move around the city to different library branches and community spaces so people can really get a sense of what we've been collecting and the work that we've been doing.
I know those people.
So what you're seeing now are some images from some of the community storytelling events that Dendria is going to be telling you more about. But I really just want to make sure I have the time for a couple of thank yous.
Yes, real quick.
I want to thank all of our community partners, all of the organizations that we've been working with who've supported this project. I want to thank our colleagues at the library, Spencer Bowman, Alona Perry, and Jim Peterson, who have worked with us on this project. And I also want to thank everyone who has entrusted us with their story and have chosen to share their story with us and with the Tacoma community, because those stories are now a part of our collective memory.
They are. And I want to say to you, if somebody has a story that they want to tell, how do they get involved in this last 10 seconds?
All right. What I would love for you to do is to go to your local neighborhood library and go to the archiving events that we have scheduled. There are posters around town. And then Hilltop Story Fest is May 6th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Tacoma Community House. We would love for you to be there.
We'll see you there. Thank you so much for telling your story and touching hearts.
Thank you.
All right, we have Asia Pacific Cultural Center. It smells so good in the studio. Come on back and we'll tell you what's cooking in just a second.